look out at this wasteland, looks like chaos, but there's always somebody behind the wheel.
What attracted you to these characters? Because it's quite a morally grey universe, and I feel like you're all having a lot of fun with the different characters you're playing. Like, what attracted each of you to the role that you've landed?
Certainly, I mean, and all these characters are this way, but multi-dimensional and really to such a high degree that you do feel like anything is possible. You know, looking at the script, I think for me, not knowing of Fallout, but not knowing the game, I was so surprised by it, and I thought, who's coming up with this? You know, this is amazing. Delving into the game is when I realized, oh, this tone has always been here, but. Yeah, that sort of idea that anything could be possible for these characters, that really drew me to him. And of course, the power armor. I really thought that was really, really cool, really awesome.
For me, it was my first meeting with Jonathan, Geneva, and Graham, and they described Lucy as someone that could star in a toothpaste commercial but could also kill you. And that was fascinating to me. They also said Ned Flanders meets Leslie Knope, and I thought, I've never seen those characters in the apocalypse or in the post-apocalyptic world, in the wasteland. And so, you know, when you wanna watch a show just based off the script, you really wanna be in the show. So I tried.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say the same. Jonah, first and foremost, Jonathan Nolan, and then Geneva and Graham, the creators of this mythic kind of game, you know, that has been so important in people's lives. That was number one, and then reading the scripts and getting the opportunity to play this guy at two very different places in his life, and the juxtaposition between those two experiences. And and I'm always up for a really great adventure, and this was going to be and has been a great adventure.
Fantastic. I mean, to that point, we kind of see a bit of a time jump in the show, 219 years in the future, but it's kind of retro, futuristic 50s for newbies to the world. Where would you say it's set if you're trying to kind of get everybody established? What sort of era is it set in?
Well, granted, let's just use the timeline of the show, right? So 2050 instead of the 1950s. I think, you know, you're coming into this show at the apex of American exceptionalism, right? Like in the past, post World War II, the greatest generation, and infinite possibilities, right? For the world is on the rise, and anything is possible, and that kind of
Eisenhower swagger,
like
on steroids,
you
know. But then like pushed into the future and not losing that swagger, you know what I mean? And then the bombs, the nuclear, apocalypse happening to that culture.
Yeah, but then the you know, we've never really talked about this because I spent time in the past, right? I was there before, but whenever you come into the vault and you're in a world that existed 200 years ago, as if nothing happened, it's so bizarre, really. It's really strange, and so we had similar experiences, even though very different time periods. We both had a very similar experience kind of growing up in that way. You know what I mean? I never thought about that.
No, me neither.
No.
Yeah, that retro futuristic tone of the 50s, 60s era. It's like stuck in time, but you've got floating robots and, you know, Pip-Boys and this crazy technology. And that was something that I had no idea about until I read the script and then, you know, familiarized myself with the game. What a unique idea.
Yeah. There was no cultural revolution, right? There was no Vietnam War. There were no protests. Like it was kind of like just this very small window of hope springs eternal.
Is there any sense of pressure releasing this? Because The Last of Us came out last year. It was a huge video game adaptation, incredibly successful, also sort of post-apocalyptic. I'd say, given the stuff we just discussed, it's very different tonally, but is that at the back of your minds while you're kind of talking about this and putting it out into the world?
Well, you just saying that is giving me a panic attack, right?
I'm sorry.
I don't know. What do you guys
I think I have I think there's a lot of weight to it for sure, but I think that comes from our love, our care, for the respect for the material, certainly. It really was always just, for me, doing the work, showing up on these sets with this detail, you know, getting to work with Jonah and have the film camera roll, you know, it all were the things that made it all fall away. It felt like the best playground to get as an actor, and I felt extremely privileged, you know, to get the opportunity.
Fantastic. Walton, your character, the Ghoul, as you mentioned, there's kind of this huge time jump and he's somehow survived the Armageddon. Could you, again, kind of contextualize that for newbies? How is that happening? What's going on with him? Is he superpowered? Is he invincible? Like, how does it work?
You know, I think those parameters are still being explored,
yeah.
right? And kind of what, I never asked Jonah that question. I never asked any of them that question. In some ways, like, is he a lizard? Does he just grow? Like, if an arm is cut off, does another one kind of grow, you know? So I really don't know the answer to all of that, but he's super fucking cool. Like that I do know. You know? But I guess for people that haven't watched this game or aren't familiar with the game, you have a guy that existed kind of before the bombs fell. And in that world, he was a protagonist in some ways, representing this American exceptionalism. And then you meet him 200 years later, while he is an antagonist to in his relationship with Lucy for the wasteland. He's an iconic kind of figure and someone that has survived all of this time. Maybe one of the only people, right? There's a few others out there, but and in that. On that level, he's a protagonist in the wasteland, in the world of the wasteland, because he survived, you know, and it's really a game of survival.
Completely. The makeup looks amazing, but I've got to ask you about the nose, because the nose does look really impactful on screen. Was that like a little blue nose you were wearing around on set, or a green one that had to be CGI'd out? Tell me the magic of the nose. I need to know.
Well, yeah, the makeup. Well, you guys, you know, it's so weird because I didn't take that into consideration, but working with these guys, everyone else was looking at my nose. I wasn't, you know, so I didn't really think about it, but the piece was designed so that it went like up to your nose here and below, just like this, and then they just put white dots, so that tracking dots, right? I think blue might have taken people out of their story, but I don't know, was it distracting to
No,
you?
I will say, it didn't make you any less terrifying, you know,
Oh, really?
no offense.
Having a nose?
Yeah, who knew? I mean, definitely the first time was like, oh, yeah.
Was that your experience?
But I also had do you remember, like, when I read the script, the Ghoul was described, his face was described as a melted candle. And I could not, do you remember this? I could not picture what that would look like in my head. I mean, I had a reference kind of from the games, but seeing you in person for the first time, it's freaky, because you look human. I can see your eyes. I know it's Walton, but it's still like alien. It was creepy, and
we've never talked about this.
No, but it was kind of scary.
Yeah,
in a good way.
Yeah. Hello.
You're committed to your craft. It's good. Scary.
I have one more question about the Ghoul, and it kind of applies to all of your characters, about the kind of moral compass, because we kind of see him do acts of kindness and then wanton violence as well. Where would you say his moral compass lies, if I asked you to place it?
Oh God, you know, it's to put it in kind of a modern term. I mean, he's the ultimate capitalist. You know, really, in some ways, you know, if he is a corporation, he is all about himself and about survival. I don't think that you can judge his morality or anyone's morality for survival on the surface compared with the morality of, say, a vault dweller, right? It's a very different, it is, as Jonah has said, it is a morality of convenience, because all of your needs were met, whereas, you know, none of the needs were met for anyone that was left on the surface. So, you know, we have a version of where we kind of judge that, and we all probably have that for ourselves, but I can't wait to see how the audience feels about it, you know, and to have those conversations as the show comes out.
It's really compelling to watch, and you just don't quite know. Ella, your character has this amazing sort of peppy positivity that sort of like booms out of the 50s. Do you think she'll be able to hold on to that throughout the course of the show, you know, maybe into future seasons, maybe?
Wow.
You know, yes, I think the 50s thing is really, it's a really good observation. It is also, like we say, that comes from just being privileged and being sheltered and having, like you say, all of your needs met. That's the big question. Is she going to maintain that positivity, or rather that moral compass? Does she still believe that people are inherently good when she meets all of the characters that the Wasteland has to offer? I'm really excited for people to see where she ends up at the end of the season. I think it's a spectrum, and I think, weirdly, every scene, I think it lands on a different place in the spectrum, and we'll see.
Speaking about towards the end of the season and what might come in the future, obviously there's a rich lore with the games. There's so much you can draw on. Like New Vegas is really, really popular, and that's something that I think could look amazing visually. What would you like to see in the future if you did come back, happen for your characters? Where would you like to see it going?
Well, I think there's something interesting about, and this goes back to just that it is an adaptation, but, tracking these characters through just even one season, it's a real joy, I think, to upgrade. You know what I mean, for lack of a better word, but to develop them even further. They get better at some things. They take things from each other along the journeys whenever we do have these worlds clashing, and to see where that brings them and how that helps or hurts their cause, or you know what I mean. It's like that development process. It's like, it feels like what new weapons are there, what new, and that stuff does become really fun, I think, as an actor to have some sense of improvement.
Well said.
I would say in addition to that, to step outside of character, right? This is a world where nothing exists anymore. There's no civilization, there's no order to civilization, right? It is chaos. And there are no nation states left in the world. We're tribal, right? There's small groups of people, and in my case, it's just a tribe of one, right? But you have my experience, you have Ella's experience, you have Aaron's experience, you have the vault dwellers that she is a part of, but no longer she's been exposed to the world. Eventually, this is about rebuilding the world, and who is going to come along and organize those tribes? And will there be 2 factions of tribes? Will there be 3? Will there be 10? There are so many different ways in which one can conceive of rebuilding the fucking world, and these are just 3 people right here. I just can't wait to see how we interact on that level. I think that's so cool because we're so different.
I can't wait to see what happens the next time all 3 of our characters meet.
Yeah, let's just eat some people. Let's be capitalists. Let's eat some cool ass jerky.
Eat it.
Let's eat some ass jerky.